I'm Mr. MegaManFan. Welcome back to Genesis Does, and you're looking at Decap Attack by Tokai, which came out in 1991, but originally was a Mega Drive game from 1990 called Magical Hat no Batobi Tabo Daiboken. I hope I got even a little bit close trying to pronounce that. Use your head, both of them. Go ahead, hurl your head, it's okay. Boing off a pole. Leap across collapsing log bridges. Pop atop a roving eyeball. Ghastly creatures prowl islands' body parts. Totem poles bury you alive. But this game does not bury me alive with its condition because it is almost immaculate. Look at how nice that cartridge looks. Let me pull it out and give you a closer view. The label isn't peeling or discolored in any way. The pins look almost as clean as if they were brand new. It's a fantastic condition cartridge. And this is one of those Genesis games that I have with nearly everything in it. The instruction manual, the warranty card, a catalog of upcoming Genesis titles. It's all in there. And since Ryan will chide me if I don't, I will actually look at the instructions. Tips for getting ahead. Never leave a shrunken head statue unopened. Statues may hold enemies too. Be careful. Nobody has written in this manual. You could see there were no high scores or notes in the back. There's lots of puns throughout. And there's also instructions on what to do with the items you collect and how to select those items. But when I play this game, I tend to plow through without using the items, which is probably to my detriment, as you will see from the gameplay footage. But first, let me tell you a little bit more about the history of this game. As I mentioned, it was developed by Tokai. It came out in North America in September 1991, in the European Union November 1991, and as mentioned in Japan on an unknown date in 1990. The reskin of this game changed you to a character named Chuck D. Head, a headless mummy created by mad scientist Dr. Frank N. Stein and his assistant Igor, and he is sent to defeat Max Decap, a demon who returned from the underworld with an army of monsters. So, yes, there are puns literally in every part of this game, from the instruction manual to the description of how to play to the game itself. It's all there throughout the game. Chuck resembles an ordinary mummy, except he has no head and his face is implanted into his torso. Chuck attacks the enemies by extending his face out to hit them, or by jumping on them Mario style. While jumping, you can hit the jump button repeatedly to slow your descent. You can also collect skull power-ups, which will sit on your shoulders like an additional head, and can be thrown at enemies. And when you throw it, it will return to you like a boomerang no matter what it hits or where it goes. But if Chuck gets hit by an enemy or a hazard, he loses said skull. So, you try to keep it as long as you can for an additional attack, which I'm not very good at doing, as you can see from watching my gameplay. Now, as for the remake or reskin for the West, here's how it was different. Ahem. Gameplay remains similar between the two games, albeit the graphic, characters, music, and level designs have all been changed. In Magical Hat, players are killed if they are hit once, while in Decap Attack, players can choose to have up to 3 hearts per life in the options menu before starting the game, with health upgrades found in certain levels of the game, allowing players to have a maximum of 5 hearts or total of 10 hits. Flagpoles that can restore health in Decap Attack increase lives in Magical Hat. So that's, by and large, the differences between the two. Decap Attack has maintained a level of recognition as, how do I put it? I don't know if I would call it an all-time classic, but as a well-remembered Sega Genesis game, because it's been ported a lot of times to a lot of different things. It was released for the Sega Genesis Collection on PlayStation 2 and PlayStation Portable, the Ultimate Genesis Collection for Xbox 60 and PS3. It's been put out via Steam and the Sega Forever service for cell phones and mobile devices. I think the only thing it hasn't ended up on is the Sega Genesis Mini. I don't remember it being on there, but you know what? Now I'm curious. I really want to know if it did wind up on there or not, because I just hooked my Genesis Mini back up today. I was going through all the stuff in my collection, and I had moved a bunch of stuff to my 43-inch TV, and I had a few extra ports on another TV, so I was like, you know what? I'm going to plug this Genesis Mini back in now that I've got a place to put it. So, no. Darius, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, Dyna Brothers 2, Dynamite Heady, Decap Attack is not in there. And not on the international releases either. Magical Hat is not on any of the versions that didn't come out in the United States. So it is exclusive to these compilations that I already listed, and of course the Sega Genesis / Mega Drive itself. It doesn't appear to have ever been ported to Virtual Console. Here's an interesting little bit of trivia about this game. A comic strip loosely based on it appeared in the United Kingdom's Sonic the Comic, written and drawn by Nigel Kitching. The strip contained a very absurdist, manic sense of humor, detailing the daily life of Chuck D. Head, the evil-minded Igor, and the stereotypical mad scientist, Professor Frank N. Stein. He is in fact faking his German accent, and in reality is a former choir boy from Cardiff. I wonder if he's familiar with Torchwood. Anyway, Max Decap only appeared twice in the strip, in the first story and the one where the characters went to hell, and was partnered both times by his accountant, who is constantly encouraging Max to be more stereotypically evil in his mannerisms. Max is described by the professor as being one of the most evil beings alive, as he borrowed the professor's lawnmower and never returned it. So yeah, you can see there's definitely a wacky, zany kind of humor to this comic, which I've never seen and never read, but I'll take their word for it that it does indeed exist. As for the gameplay, well, I both like and dislike Decap Attack for various reasons. I do like that you can throw your head. I dislike how easily you can lose that ability if you take one hit. I do like that you can hover in the air by hitting the jump button when you've jumped and kind of increase your range of your jump. Kind of like Super Mario World when Mario has the cape, how he can kind of glide a little bit, or when you're playing as Yoshi in Yoshi's Super Mario World Yoshi's Island. I think there's some benefit to that, but I also feel like the controls, no pun intended, are very floaty. You even skid when you're turning around and going from one area to another. It's like you're hitting the brakes, and that gets old after a while. I feel like I could do better at this video game if it was a lot easier to control the motion and the momentum, but you're constantly fighting the controls. It's like you're either out of control or on ice, because your momentum never stops, and you, like for example, this area here where you have to jump from one platform to the next, it just drives me crazy trying to get through this area, because you try to stop on a dime to land on this tiny little platform, and your momentum will carry you forward past it. And if you end up going back down, it's really hard to get back up there again. And here's another example. These ducks, they fly right in your face when you're trying to jump to a platform that's very hard to land on. Damn ducks. Fuck these ducks. These ducks fucking suck. They don't give a fuck, so I don't give a fuck about these ducks. Fuck these fucking sucking ducks. Anyway, everything breaks into bones when you kill them, which I can only assume doesn't happen in Magical Hat. Everything's been themed around this monster, madcap, macabre type of thing. So you look like a mummy, everything breaks into bones. And other than that, I can assume some of the enemy designs are probably similar, except, of course, they've been reskinned to look like ghosts, but I assume they still, like these ones that shoot arrows at you, I assume they still shoot arrows at you either way. The ducks, they probably didn't change much from Magical Hat. They probably look like stupid ducks no matter where you go or what you do. And see, I just lost my head again there. trying to keep my head, but in Decap Attack, that's very hard to do. It returned to me there, and then I got hit and lost it again. It's just a constant battle trying to hold on to your head so you can actually throw it at enemies, and so usually I just prefer to not even bother. They make such tight windows for the platforming here. It helps that you can hover, but it doesn't help that it's so loosey-goosey and there are things flying into the platforms that you're trying to land on. See what I mean? It's just a constant source of vexation, frustration, and it causes me indignation. I do like Decap Attack, don't get me wrong. I'm very glad I have this game. I wouldn't want it any other way, especially since I have such a nice copy of it. But it's so... Oh... I feel like the angry video game nerd when I talk about this game. Like, I want to like the good things about it, but the things about it that just annoy me are so much worse. Yeah. You can see from the gameplay that I'm just vexed as to even figure out where to try to go here. You can't... The levels aren't necessarily designed left to right. Some of them are up and down. Some of them are right to left. Some of them you just have no fucking clue where you're going. There aren't really signposts that guide your way. So I thought I was getting to the end of the stage by going down and to the right here, but all I was doing was going back to where I started. Oh my fucking god. Oh, well... Let's look at some other facts about Decap Attack while you watch me play this footage for Genesis Does. Let's start with what this game goes for currently at the time I'm recording this video. I always think that's an interesting little tidbit to throw in if you're considering getting a copy of this game for yourself. Pricecharting.com. Okay, loose. It commands $14. Complete, $30. Sealed, oh geez, $126. I don't know about that. Even $14 loose seems a little on the high end, but as I said as I reset my way through this level and try to get back to where I was, it's a frustrating game, but it is also a well-remembered game, so I can see why it commands a little bit of a premium. Slightly cheaper in the PAL region though, 13 loose, 24 complete, 65 brand new and sealed. So if you have something like an analog Mega SG where you can play games from any region, you might want to pick up a PAL copy instead and save yourself a few bucks. Or, as I always say, if you're at a thrift shop, the Pawn, Flea, a Goodwill, and you see Genesis games for $1, I never see that myself anymore, but let's say you do, and Decap Attack is in the pile, take it out of the pile. It's worth that. I just don't know if I can really justify spending $14 on such a frustrating game. I'm happy I have it. I wouldn't get rid of it. I take it out and play it every now and then for things like Genesis Does and just for my own amusement, but it's not a game that I'm constantly coming back to because of things like that, where you just die in mid-air, which is completely absurd any way you slice it. I could not have avoided that duck no matter what I did, and then I just died hanging there in the middle of the fucking air. Well, I'm Mr. MegaManFan. This is Genesis Does. I like this game, but it frustrates the hell out of me. Thank you for watching.